$3 for a gallon and 9/10.
Why does something cost $999 instead of $1,000? Because people react that extra dollar. Psychologically, it feels better.
And 9/10 of a penny.
Yeah,
it's just
99.9 is better than $1 a gallon.
But we have someone that can answer this question for us.
It's Financial Phil.
Yeah.
First off, Phil's in mourning this morning, so go easy on him. Phil, good morning to you.
Good morning, guys. How are you all?
We are well.
Phil, do you actually expect us to go easy on you this morning?
No. And no, not at all. Dylan did though. I don't know why, but he does. He's so classy.
Yeah, and what did you do?
And
what did you do the last time that the Steelers beat the Ravens?
They play this Saturday again, by the way.
I know, but the last time you went after Dylan with both barrels.
Well, I take it easy on Dylan. If it were Colin, that's a different story. Rob's got a story from a few years ago that I lost my mind one morning. But
you did.
Dylan's different. Dylan is a classy fan. So it's hard to get on him. So I give props to Dylan. Having said that, if the Steelers play like they did last night, if they play that way next week, I'm not calling it. I'm not. I don't
he
want
just
to
just put his earphones on. You might be in trouble.
I'm staying classy. That's the thing. It's been a while since we had a week that the Ravens did really well and the Steelers did the opposite of that. So
it was tough to watch.
The Steelers haven't won in Philadelphia since 1965. So when that game comes on the calendar, I mean, Chuck Noll didn't win there. When Philly was bad and the Steelers were great, the Steelers didn't win there. Bill Cowher didn't win there. The year they won the Super Bowl in 2008, they got physically whipped in Philadelphia. It's just
9 sacks. I remember that.
Yeah.
Big Ben got sacked.
They got terrorized. It's just one of those things. When you see that game on the calendar in Philly, you go, okay, well, that's a loss. That's just what it is. Yeah. It doesn't have to make sense.
The Steelers lost, sure, but the way they lost was, to me, most impressive. The Eagles just dominated them in every aspect of the game, especially the line play.
Well, the Eagles are the model the Steelers are rebuilding their lines by. Andy Weidel is they plucked him. He worked for the Steelers, went to Philadelphia, came back from Philadelphia to the Steelers. When he came back with the philosophy that I have myself. When you're trying to build a football team, the skill guys are all fun and flashy and whatever, but you got to build on the lines first. Football games are won by young, large people. Offensive and defensive lines. Young, large people. That's how you win games in the NFL. And then you get a quarterback, and then you get the skills and whatever. But if you don't have a line, it really doesn't matter what else you have. And that's where the way the Eagles have built themselves. And he's doing that with the Steelers now, too. It's just that it's not going to be overnight. It's going to take a few years till you get all those people in. So he's doing the right thing. It's just it takes time.
It's just incredible to say that the Steelers punted the ball with about 10.5 minutes left in the game, and they never got the ball back.
And it was over.
Because the Eagles went on the 21-play, 88-yard drive that took off the last 10.5 minutes of the game.
And everybody seemed to know that was a possibility except the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers, Mike Tomlin, who apparently was observing a different game than the rest of us who were watching that game. I don't know if they get the first down or not, but I know one thing. When they punted the ball away, there's a good chance the way that game had gone, they weren't getting it back, and that's exactly what happened. That was as impressive a drive as you could possibly imagine.
It was like Army-Navy.
Yeah, who keeps the ball for the last 10.5 minutes of a game? Who does that?
Army or Navy. That's really it.
Plays. Yeah. 11 plays in the second half. On the bright side, this 10-day gauntlet, the offense ought to be fresh.
They were rarely on the field, except when they were on there long enough for Najee Harris to drop a pitch.
Yes.
Yes, to Phil. I was texting Phil and back and forth during the game. I was trying to talk him off the ledge, man. Phil, you can't take these games so personally.
Let's just be clear. I don't take it personally, but you're not exactly trying to talk me off the ledge.
Was he pushing?
You're edging me over to the ledge.
There's several ways to get off the ledge.
Along the way.
It's like, come on, Phil.
There's back into the room, and then there's over the edge. So
yeah. There's nudging just a little bit.
I don't know. Maybe 10, 12 years ago, I'd have been mad for like a whole week. It doesn't mean as much to me now as it used to. I still want them to win, but when they lose, it doesn't ruin my whole week like it used to.
It doesn't ruin my whole week, and I probably wouldn't have been mad if I wasn't talking to you, to be honest. I probably got over it real quick.
Oh, come on, Phil. You doing okay?
Yeah,
That's why I can stay.
Yeah, I did fine. I went out and cleared my driveway off and got my mind somewhere else. So after that game, I went out and cleared a driveway that probably didn't need cleared, but I needed to clear my mind.
All right.
So that's what I did.
What were you saying, Dylan?
I was going to say that's why I can stay classy with Phil's, because when the Ravens lose, it really only ruins my next couple hours. It's like by the time Monday morning comes around, it's like, okay, whatever.
Not me, man.
Yeah,
I was young, used to take the whole week.
It does ruin my week of downtime and entertainment because I will not watch any sports shows. I don't want anything to do with it until they win again. So
yeah. Building a team is a process. It takes time. You just gotta relax, man.
You know what you're doing. You know you're getting on that building stuff, and I know you know what you're doing. You keep saying that because you know it's going to.
I don't know what I'm telling you the truth, Phil. I am preaching the truth to you. You're just kind of irritable. That's all. You gotta.
That's what. This is how he got me going last night. Oh, building. We're building a team. You're 10-4. You're not building a team. We don't have a bunch of freshmen coming.
No, you don't. But you don't have everybody that you need just yet. There's stages before you can compete for a Super Bowl.
You've got the biggest smile on your face. Let's talk about finances. Let's talk about Jerome Powell.
Are you sure you don't want to talk about the appropriate stages one must achieve before you build a Super Bowl winning team, Phil?
Yes. I want to talk about Jerome Powell and the NASDAQ and even Tesla.
Yes.
I want to talk about all those.
But just one more question. What was your reaction when Najee dropped the pitch?
Yeah, I can't say it on the radio, and my kids are home from school, so they may be listening to it. I can't say it.
What did it rhyme with? What did it rhyme with? Is it something you drive?
Yes.
Mercy.
Yes.
All right, Phil. So the Dow's been on a losing streak. The NASDAQ had been making up for that, and then I guess this morning futures are positive, but on Friday the NASDAQ slightly positive. The Dow and the S&P had slight losses too. Are we stalling out on the rally? Or are we going to, for the most part, tread water the rest of the year, or is this just a little blip in the rally?
Well, I think it's a blip for the moment, and think a few weeks ago, and I just think this is comical. I keep bringing it up, but I remember sitting there saying, hey, in November we had some rotation or broadening of the market, and that's a good sign, and that was the last day of it. That was it, the day that we said that on the Monday, the call in. Now, last week the PPI number, the second part of the inflation readings, the first the CPI, typically, sometimes that's reversed, and I haven't figured that out yet. The second, the PPI, and then the PCE that will come this week, which is the Federal Reserve's preferred gauge. It gets zero attention because the Federal Reserve is talking at the same time. So all the attention goes to the Federal Reserve. But the wholesale inflation, which is the PPI, indicated that maybe that there will be a stall out in rate decreases in early 2025. So the CPI is more immediate. The PPI is longer range. So when the PPI came out and it was worse than expected, then that told the markets that, hey, the Federal Reserve is probably going to slow down after December. What I can't wrap my head around completely is why still the cut in December. It's still almost a certainty that they're going to cut rates this week, 0.25%, which that would make a full percent that they've cut rates in this fourth quarter. I can't wrap my head around why they would still do it if you know it's most likely that you're not going to do it in early 2025. But right now, the dot plot on Wednesday. So Wednesday's a huge day, as always. It's really fun. If you have time, if you've got a television or on your internet, watch Jerome Powell speak and then watch the indices as he talks and asks questions or and he answers how drastic of a move that occurs in that half hour or so that he's speaking. It is very entertaining. Tyler and I always watch that if we have a chance. The movement of the markets based off of his words only. So his words and the dot plot, and of course at this time, because it's so widely expected that he's going to cut rates or the Federal Reserve is going to cut rates, if he doesn't, that would probably have a huge impact, mostly on the NASDAQ. It would have more impact on the NASDAQ than it would anything else if there's no rate cut for December. But then watch his words and watch the dot plot. and that will tell us what we think they're going to do in early 2025.
My question, and you touched on this, is why would they cut rates when there's evidence that inflation is not dropping, it's actually slightly increasing, Phil, and the markets are doing as well as they have been doing? Why cut rates in that environment?
I don't know, other than, and that's the best answer I can give you, other than any rate increase or decrease takes a while to make its way through the economy. So it is a guessing game. And that may be why I'm so easy on the Federal Reserve, because it is a guessing game. You're trying to determine not what happened so much as last month. That helps you gauge it. But when we cut rates or increase rates, it doesn't make its way through the economy for 3 to 6 months. Typically, they say if you're cutting rates, it makes its way into 3 months. If you're raising rates, it takes 6 months. But I agree completely. Look, if the inflation readings hasn't given you what you want to see, why cut the rates? But that is still widely expected that what they're going to do. And at the moment, it's expected that at least through the first quarter, there'll be no rate cuts. That they're going to say, okay, we're going to cut in December. That's 1%. And let some of these make its way. The very first rate cut should have made its way all the way through. Let it make its way through our economy, and let's see where we're at then. It's just whether or not Jerome Powell says that out loud or not.
Go ahead, Bill.
Yeah. Good morning, Phil. You do not talk individual stocks, but in the tech stock arena, Tesla has been performing unbelievably well. What's the driving force for that? Do you have any idea?
I think there's a handful of things, and while I'm very hypocritical because I say this all the time, I try not to get political, and then I do. I think a huge part of this, I really, really do, is his involvement with the Republican Party. I think that involvement with the Republican Party may have opened up a new sector of buyers for his company, and the perception that there may be some favorable laws enacted as it pertains to EVs as a whole. But when we talk about electric vehicles, of course, all of our minds, I know that everybody's getting in on that market, but all of our minds go directly to Tesla. And it has been really since his involvement with the Republican Party, and, of course, after the election. And, of course, you do have some underlying things, the robo-taxis. Will that be more widely accepted now because he's more accepted politically than what he was before? And so all of these – and Tesla makes a good product. I don't think, you talk about them often. I think the trucks may have fallen flat a little bit, but that doesn't mean that they can't repair that. But their vehicles, you see them more and more on the road. At first, we thought the infrastructure package that the Democrats were putting in would help them, and then any Republican involvement would say, well, nope, the infrastructure is going to be gone. There's not going to be a push toward that. But then his involvement with the Republican Party made us all think, me included, makes us think that maybe some of these advantages that they had, or some of this push toward electric vehicles or acceptance of it, is going to be more widely used now.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
You frequently trash talk.
This is going to end well.
What? Good day, John.
Good one, yeah. The Dow Jones Industrial Average. When I was, for years and years, that's all we ever heard about was what the Dow was doing. And now you say you rarely look at it, you rarely talk about it. We always talk about the S&P. And why? What's the difference? Yeah. Why is one better than the other?
The Dow only has 30 companies on it. And so it's a small sample of what the overall markets are doing, and especially since in the early 2000s when the technology boom happened, there's less of that on the Dow than there is anywhere else. There's some on there, but it doesn't make up the proportion that it does on the NASDAQ especially, and the S&P kind of is a mix of the two of them. So when you look at the three indices, the largest companies in the world now are technology. And I've always thought this was neat to do. Go back to maybe 1995 and Google what was the 10 largest companies in the world. Microsoft may have been there, but that may be the only tech company that you see there. And then go do that today, and you're going to see Apple, Microsoft, NVIDIA. You'll probably look like the SEC in football every year at the top of the rankings. But that is why now we pay less attention to the Dow than what we did before, because its meaning of the overall, or its perception of the overall economy, isn't what it used to be.
And how do companies come and go off of these various lists?
Well, I'm glad you asked that, and there's a board that does that, and what they think that their impact is on the overall economy. And there's a few that's added on the NASDAQ today. There's and I forget the names of them, because there's a few. One micro company is leaving, and another one is coming on. And Moderna is getting taken off of the NASDAQ. Moderna was on the NASDAQ, and it's getting taken off the NASDAQ. But there's a handful of that interchange going on today. And that really, really boosts company profits when that happens. Or not company profits, but the stock price when that happens, because now it's starting to be included on a lot of exchange-traded funds and mutual funds that it once wasn't. So if I'm an exchange-traded fund that's tracking even the Dow, if I'm an exchange-traded fund that's tracking the Dow, and now there's inclusion on the Dow, that company gets a boost. But there's a group of people that kind of decide that, and what percentage of each industry that will make up, and it's the belief of their overall impact on the economy.
Phil, in times past, we've mentioned Bitcoin, and we kind of dismiss it by saying we don't know anything about it. Yet it's gone up 145% for the year. It's over $106,000 and keeps going up. Is it getting to the point that we've got to start taking it serious?
Yeah, and I wouldn't say that. I guess it's fair to say we don't take it seriously, and it's because we can't put it in portfolios, and we don't put it in portfolios and its volatility. It has certainly made a major impact on a lot of different things. Speaking of which, this ties into this company that's going into the Dow or the NASDAQ in late December, and I'm trying to find the company of it right now. But as that company enters, one of the big things that it goes up and down in value on is with the value of Bitcoin, because it owns so much Bitcoin in its treasury that its value has skyrocketed along with Bitcoin. I'm trying to find the name of it. So now you're starting to see that is it MicroStrategy, I think is the name of it, MicroStrategy, that entered the NASDAQ, or one of the three that entered the NASDAQ. But you're starting to see that the value of Bitcoin impacting the value of companies that does sit on these indices. So even though it's indirect, that it is making an impact from that standpoint. But the reason we kind of I don't want to say, well, I guess it is. It's true. We dismiss it, is because there's no intrinsic value to it. And that's the confusing part. Not just to me as a financial planner, who's got all the certificates and all the education. We're so accustomed to being able to place a value on something, being able to say, this is what this company is worth. And you simply can't really do that with Bitcoin. And you can't really say, other than government regulation, which is part of what scares us so much about crypto, is what's it worth and what's its value derived from, and where is the desire for people to purchase this other than to make money on it. So it kind of behaves in a way like a meme stock. But as regulation comes, and that's my I don't want to say fear, but my prediction, as regulation comes to Bitcoin, because there's no government that's going to allow a cryptocurrency to undermine what they're trying to do with the economy. So China did it some time ago, and it made the price fall drastically. So if the other developed economies, especially the United States, do the same thing, we may start to see Bitcoin behave like gold and silver does, where there's some volatility there, but the overall growth of it is more slow than what it is right now.
We had, during the pandemic, meme stocks, Phil, and now there are meme coins, as you briefly mentioned there for a moment. And on the CNBC.com website, there is one in particular that they are right now writing a story about. They put up on their site called Fartcoin. Yes, that's the name of it. And it has tripled in value over the...
You got a whole pocket full of those. Huh?
Depends on what I ate. Tripled in value over the past week. Its market cap is now $700 million, equal to that of Office Depot, Guess Jeanswear, Steak and Shake, and it's worthless. It's
worthless.
It is a joke, and it is now worth $700 million. Somebody or some buddies will be buying this, thinking that they're going an upward ride,
Yes.
and they're going to lose a lot of money on this joke, Phil.
Yes, and there's no regulation behind it. That's why they can do that. And a lot of us has probably heard it's filthy, but a lot of us has probably heard of the Hawk Tua girl. She had her own Bitcoin as well, or her crypto as well, and it went up in value like that. And of course, it came crashing down shortly afterwards. And that's kind of the thing. I don't think you can say that about a Bitcoin, the one that we all think of. But that's kind of the thing that is concerning to financial planners as we put our investment dollars for the future in something like that, and it can fall apart without. It could, first of all, grow without rhyme or reason, which means it can fall without rhyme or reason. Well, and that's the exact reason we get fearful of the stock market. When stock markets do well, me included, you start to look for reasons. Give me support. Give me a reason why the NASDAQ or why Tesla or why this company is doing this, so I can feel good about these gains and I can hang on to them, that there's something substantial underneath of it that company is worth that. And you just can't do that with crypto right now, fart coin or otherwise. You can't do that with crypto, and that's where our fear is, because what we're doing is investing for the future, and if we're not going to put a large sum of money inside of something like that can fall, it can rise without reason. I'll take that, but then it's going to fall without reason as well. And market movements are unpredictable, but an unpredictable drop of 10 or 15% is different than a market drop of 100%
Sure.
or 90%. It's a completely different thing.
That's
kind of our fear with
I don't see what separates this from Beanie Babies and Pet Rocks and tulip bubbles. There's no there. When I predict, I hope it doesn't happen because it would hurt a lot of people, but Bitcoin, if it crashes, and how can it not? Because there's no there. It's not going to crash a little bit. It's like the .com bubble of the 2002, whatever that was.
Late 90s.
Yeah.
Phil?
Yes. But
Yeah.
with the .com bubble, there was still something there. Even with that, there was still some value in these companies. A lot of them went bankrupt, but still some value in these companies. And you can't give me some intrinsic value on Bitcoin or crypto. I keep saying Bitcoin, but cryptocurrency.
Right.
All right, Phil,
Scary.
we are out of time. How do we reach you for your time today?
You can reach us at 304-263-4343 or stop by and see us with an appointment at 1270 Winchester Avenue, right here in Martinsburg.
Steelers-Ravens Saturday. Phil, give me your pick.
The Pittsburgh Steelers are going to win that football game, Dylan, 23-13. They're going to recover. George Pickens is going to come back and throw a couple touchdown passes. I'm going to be happy next Monday morning.
You can catch 2 minutes of Phil every morning at 6:38, replayed at 7:38. This is Talk Radio, WRI Martinsburg and TV 10.